The conspiracy theory that I've heard about, and it's been well publicised in the past few years, is that the incident we referred to earlier, where Gatti was arguing with her in the restaurant and they had a bit of a altercation in the restaurant, which resulted in obviously the innocent bystanders getting involved and attacking Gatti. The conspiracy theory that's doing the rounds is that as a result of this particular incident, Amanda actually had brothers who were very well connected in Brazil, and these brothers either killed Gatti, committed the murder, and staged it to look like he'd committed suicide, or they hired somebody to commit the murder on the orders of Amanda. And again, these are wild conspiracy theories. These are not accusations that we're making. These are conspiracy theories that are doing the rounds and still do the rounds today. But there's so many plausible reasons as to why Amanda will have wanted him out of the picture. There's so many reasons. But then there's also many reasons as to why, if Arturo did take his own life, the other surrounding factors are also there to kind of back that up in some senses as well. So it is a very, very difficult situation and a very difficult one to determine whether or not he committed suicide or he was murdered. If I'm speaking personally on the situation, I'd like to think he didn't commit suicide, because you don't get the impression throughout his journey, throughout his story, that he was the type of person to do that. Based on accounts from his friends, based on accounts from his manager, Pat Lynch, Mickey Ward, many, many people that have come out since he passed away and have blatantly said he would never have done that. They genuinely believed he would never have done that, or alternatively, they refused to believe that he would have done that. So it is a very interesting scenario with what's happened with his passing. But are we ever going to get a conclusion to this? I honestly don't know. I'd like to think that we will get a conclusion one day. But for me at the moment, my mind leans towards the fact that I think he was murdered.
I'm with you because of the fact that the financial element of things, the way that his will was drawn up, and how everything went to her. It was moments before he died, and it was also, I mean, there was so much other evidence that we could have shredded light on, and one of his friends in particular had a voicemail message, and it was from kept it for years, and it was the moment when I think they tried to rekindle their relationship originally, and he was like, no, this ain't working, and that was it. But then afterwards, he knew he had to go to Brazil. He had to go to Brazil because he wanted to make sure that he kept his relationship with his son. I think he was in a difficult situation, and I think he did go out there isolated. Someone should have probably gone with him, 100%. And I did hear that story as well with the brothers. I mean, that was the original story that I had drawn up in my head. It's not until we started doing the investigation that I started to realise that maybe that isn't the case. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely plausible. Again, I mean, we know the certain areas of Brazil are well known to be very mob-handed, if you like, and there are plenty of people that would have murdered Gatti for pittance. And the fact that the door was locked on the inside, she could have locked the door. She could have been involved. I think if he was murdered, I'm not quite sure if she did it, but I think if she was murdered, as you say, someone must have been in that room. And I think the police did a bad job in that crime scene. So if it had been in another country, I think we may have got a different result. Yeah, it really is just really unsettling and just an awful way for Gatti to die. He was a warrior and well known to be a warrior, a solid warrior in the ring. And I think outside of it as well, I don't think he was the type of guy that would, I think he'd go out on his shield. He wouldn't want to just commit suicide. I think if anything, he would get into an altercation and get hurt. I'm with you. I'm siding with the fact that I think it was more murder than suicide. I am. But there are still elements to it where I'm not quite 100% sure.
And I'll always go back to the fact that the autopsies never really conclusively gave us the evidence to determine whether it was murder or whether it was suicide. Very conflicting reports about that, and that's what leads me to believe that there's something more at play here. There's something that has yet to be found out about this case, and I do believe that one day it will emerge, and maybe this will be something we can go and revisit years down the line if any more factual based evidence does emerge. But for now, as it stands, they ruled his death as a suicide, whilst we do genuinely believe here that this was a murder that took place, and we've given our reasons as to why we think it took place. And I'd be very interested to hear the thoughts of the listeners